This is QuickTime Gaming, the only show that tells you whether a game respects your time and what sort of time budget you'll need to make the most of it. The Outer Wilds is a perfect example of how the small and unassuming can take the world by surprise. Beginning as Alex Beecham's master's thesis back in 2012, The Outer Wilds went on to win award after award, including Best Game of 2019 at the 16th British Academy Game Awards. But we're not here to talk about whether Outer Wilds is a good game or not. We're here to find out if it respects your time as a player or if it will keep you trapped in a Groundhog Day loop of perpetual disappointment. The Outer Wilds doesn't waste your time with cinematics or exposition. Once you hit Start Game, it will take a few moments to load and then present you with a single option: Wake Up. Once you hit that, you're now playing the Outer Wilds, and aside from one compulsory action, the game is your oyster. Whether or not your first loop in Outer Wilds, more on that later, takes you 30 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes will depend entirely on you and how much you want to prepare for jumping into the big black abyss that is space. When you do first wake up, you'll find yourself on the world of Timber Hearth, the home to our character and the tutorial area of the game. You can spend as long as you like exploring this area and interacting with its inhabitants, and the reason you may want to do this is that most of these conversations will give you a chance to experience and practice one of the game's mechanics, from flying a model of your spaceship, navigating zero-G space, and making you aware of one of the game's most deadly obstacles. It's also here that you're introduced to the two tools you have at your disposal, the signal scope and the scout. However, if you're the kind of go-getting space explorer who has no time for instructions and just wants to blast off, then you simply need to make your way to the observatory, get the launch codes, and head back to your spaceship. It is doing this action that brings the machine under the hood to life and starts Outer Wilds for real. Outer Wilds has very few tools and mechanics for you to get to grips with. You can jump, you can use the jetpack while in your spacesuit, you have your signal scope, scout launcher, and of course the ship itself. Learning how to use these is not going to take you any time at all. They're all incredibly simple mechanics. Learning when to use these tools, however, can require some creative thought at times, and the ability to identify whether your particular problem falls under the locate something hat or the navigate an obstacle hat. In fact, my experience in watching other people play this game has shown me the hardest thing to learn is movement in space. The concept of resistance and friction are so ingrained into us that when we stop actively moving forward in a vehicle, we instinctively assume we will slow to a stop. This is not the case when out in the vacuum of space. If you stop applying thrust while traveling at 10,000 kilometers a second, then that is the speed you will remain until either you apply thrust in another direction or one of the many planets in the solar system decides to high-five your face. I'll be giving tips on how to find your space feet later in this video. Now that we know the tools we have at our disposal, it's time to talk about the Outer Wilds core gameplay loop and how it consistently asks for an inconsistent amount of your time. Once you've set off in your ship for the first time, a session in the Outer Wilds becomes incredibly consistent. At most, you will only spend 23 minutes before starting again. And this is because one of the Outer Wilds core gameplay features is a time loop. Either you will die before this 23-minute timer elapses, or you won't. Either way, you'll find yourself waking back up on Timber Hearth, ready to jump into your ship and do it all again. The reason that Outer Wilds can also ask for wildly varying time investments from players is that the game offers absolutely zero guidance. The allure of this game is one of curiosity and exploration, picking a direction and heading off to find some clue, deciding whether or not to pursue a new clue or look for more in your current area. It is a game that rewards those who want to learn for the sake of learning, to uncover the story hidden underneath its charming solar system and varied worlds, and to solve the mystery at the heart of the time loop. This means, however, that at no point will it tell you where to go. It will give no subtle markers when you're stuck, no quest log with current objectives to drive the game forward. Meaning, if a particular clue has gone unnoticed or misunderstood, or the solution to a puzzle has evaded your eye for whatever reason, you are stuck where you are until either you stumble upon the answer or pick a new direction and hope to discover a new thread to follow. This also means there's no guaranteed answer when asking how long will it take to make progress in Outer Wilds. It is possible to go some loops making minimal discoveries, as you attempt to solve a particularly stubborn puzzle or search for a location in an ever-shifting solar system. Other loops could see you fill out huge chunks of your rumour board at once as you find secret after secret. Speaking of the rumour board, let's look at how well the Outer Wilds treats your time between sessions. The first thing to mention is that you never need to worry about losing progress if you have to step away from Outer Wilds before the end of a loop. The game saves every time you learn something new, and treats quitting as simply dying in the loop, ready for you to start again when you return. However, if you're in the middle of solving a puzzle and have yet to actually gain the new information, you will need to do that puzzle again. The easiest way to know if you've learned something permanent is when the game tells you the ship's log has been updated. And it's this log that makes keeping track of all the information in the game a breeze. At any point, you can board your ship and access the computer to get a high-level view of the things that you've learned. And by making use of the rumour mode view, you can see how these pieces of information connect to each other. We've mentioned that the start of the game gives you absolutely zero guidance, and that it's through your own exploration and curiosity that progress is made. Once you've made a few discoveries, however, then this view can tell you whether or not you've missed something in a previous area, or point you towards other locations where you could find more information for a particular thread. This screen is your best friend for putting new information into context, refreshing yourself on what you know after a break, and easily picking a new destination to explore. Now, while this video is primarily a review on the time expenditure you can expect should you pick up the Outer Wilds, there are a couple of tips I'd like to mention now that if you do start playing will hopefully save you many minutes of pure frustration. These are things the game doesn't make obvious and can make exploration and navigation feel just a little bit smoother. First up is match velocity. While in zero-G situations, either in your suit or in your ship, you can target an object in front of you and hold down the relevant button to match your velocity with the object. What this does is put you at the same speed and trajectory as the object in front of you, making it appear stationary. This is great for either matching the path of something you hope to land on, or simply stopping yourself to interact with something and not having to worry that you might apply too much or too little backward thrust to stop properly. What the game doesn't tell you, however, is that you don't need to have an object targeted to use this feature. If you find yourself drifting and you just need to come to a complete stop, you can hold this button and come to a complete stop. So if you need to use fine control to get through an opening, or simply can't target that small object in front of you, this will save you so much frustration without having to master space physics. Second, there is a flashlight. This isn't something I've seen the game tell players about, but at the press of a button, you can turn your flashlight on and off. This is vital, as there are plenty of times you're either underground with no natural light, or the sun just happens to be on the opposite side of the planet you're on and you need a little extra guidance while navigating. To turn it on is a click of the right stick on controllers, and you would have to look at your key bindings to find that out on PC. Next up are the time freeze options. By default, time in Outer Wilds is almost always progressing. However, if you feel rushed and want to take things at your own pace, it is possible to jump into the options and tweak it so that while you're looking at your ship log, translating text, or talking to other characters, time will pause around you and you can do this at your own leisure. This means giving you the ability to read at your own pace, and also a handy way to pause the game should you need to step away for a moment. Finally, once you've discovered a location and can see an image of it on your rumour board, you can use the board to set a waypoint on your display, which means finding that particular location on a planet again will be a breeze. Fantastic if there's more information you need to discover, or for keeping track of where something is at all times. These heads-up displays, including the large solar system map, can be viewed either from your cockpit or while your spacesuit is equipped. So if you try to set a waypoint at your computer and see nothing, it's likely because you've simply not yet put your suit on. Before we look at how much time you can expect to sink into Outer Wilds in total and the final verdict, I just want to take a moment to say that if you have any questions or thoughts on what's been discussed today, that I do stream every week on Twitch. You can click the link below to find my schedule, as it's inconsistently consistent due to my shift work, but I encourage you to drop in and discuss the game, let me know your thoughts, or just come in and chat. With that said, let's wrap things up. Despite the total freedom you have to explore and the unguided nature of the game, Outer Wilds' story from start to finish doesn't actually ask for a massive slice of your life. Stats from howlongtobeat.com show that the main story has an average time investment of 15 hours, with a completionist run clocking in at 22 hours, or if you're a speedrunner, 10 minutes apparently. The Outer Wilds is most definitely a unique experience that you'll be hard-pressed to find anywhere else in gaming. And while it makes jumping in and out of sessions a breeze with constant autosave and the rumour board, the lack of guidance and clear-cut objectives can leave you feeling like you're drifting aimlessly and achieving nothing in each loop. If this is something you feel you can push past, then you will find yourself with a game that rewards your curiosity and provides you with a story you can only experience through this medium. If that lack of clear objectives is a barrier to you, however, then I'm going to include a link to Dan at Playframe going through this game, because I do feel it is something that should be experienced in one way or another, and his Let's Play is incredibly charming and easy to watch. Once again, this has been QuickTime Games, the only channel dedicated to saving you time by ensuring you know the time budget you'll need to make the most out of gaming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.